the president's comment yesterday or last night about why does New York need 30,000 ventilators? And the governor said, let me think about this for a moment, how I want to answer it. And then he took it.
Yeah, and that's the right way to do it. You know, more and more, there have been a couple of articles that have noticed this, Christian, that the president is not becoming entirely relevant to every part of the discussion, right? I mean, the president talks about, should we open the country? Should we keep the country closed? The reality is that decision is being made. It's being made by university presidents. It's being made by governors, by mayors, by county executives. Other people are taking the leadership that the president has not shown. And so when he makes some of these stray comments, hey, you ever go to a hospital and see they've got one ventilator and they're not even using it, has absolutely nothing to do with the current situation. And the governor was being, I think, very diplomatic in saying the president's stray, ignorant, uninformed comments have nothing to do with the situation on the ground. And he has a way of trying to steer it back politely to the real crisis at hand.
And he also has realized, I mean, he's dealt with Donald Trump for years here in New York, so he knows that flattery will get you everywhere with the president. So he sort of realizes they had that contentious back and forth a little bit midweek. They had a nicer moment earlier in the week. So if I say nicely about the ventilators, maybe I will get the ventilators that we are going to need here.
The president makes no secret about that. In fact, he says, look, it's a two-way street. You know, you've got to do something for us. I mean, this is the way he is. This is who he is. This is why he was impeached, by the way, always insisting that he gets something out of every conversation, every transaction, even in a case like this where it's clearly his sworn duty to coordinate the emergency response. And, you know, flattery is not in the Constitution. It's not in his oath of office or anything like that. But for Donald Trump, if you don't say something nice about him, he will withhold public aid. He will withhold public praise. He will withhold the levers of government. We've seen it in foreign policy. We've seen it in domestic policy. Now we're seeing it in emergency response.
And to the point that you were making earlier about, you know, governors and mayors making these decisions, they're also the ones who are going to be deciding whether to open it up or not. He could say, I want everyone to go back to work. But the bottom line is, it's not going to happen in New York until Governor Cuomo says everybody goes back to work.
Look, in fact, look, the president could say tonight, I mean, he could say in a briefing today or tomorrow, I want all construction workers to resume. And the governor already shut that down. That's that. You know, you can risk it on your own because you saw something that the president said. But here again, the president risks kind of making himself irrelevant to the situation on the ground, because this is as real as it gets. This is, to a certain extent, really beyond politics. Whether you like the president, whether you don't like the president, whether you voted for him, whether you didn't vote for him, the reality is the governors and the mayors have to make really hard choices because it is literally life and death. And we've got some good numbers that are coming out, good in the sense that we're starting to slow the rate. Some of the numbers might suggest. We don't want to get too hopeful too soon, but that's the reality that we have to deal with.
Bringing it back here to New York, you know, the governor and the mayor keep saying we have enough PPE, protection equipment, for these workers, but time and time again, we're seeing on Twitter, we're seeing on Facebook, we're hearing in conversations, the workers are saying, no, that's not true. We should not be having to wear these gowns an entire day. Masks that, you know, their faces are almost bloody in some of these pictures because they've been worn so much, the same mask.
Yes.
So where's the disconnect here?
It's a point of great consternation. I don't know about you, but I've been hearing from viewers, people who are saying, I have a connection to some place that can deliver some personal protective equipment. What should I do with it? I think you were here when I was interviewing the borough president of Brooklyn just the other day, where he's saying he's got 10,000 masks. You know, they're not N95, but they're pretty good. And he was trying to figure out where they should go. We need better and more coordination. I don't know if it's happening to the extent that it should, because there are lots of people who seem to be able, for one reason or another, to get to a warehouse or get to a supplier domestically or overseas, and they genuinely want to help. It's not clear what they should do. And so when people contact me, I'm not even sure where I should send them, because if you're hearing from the mayor and the governor, we've got that piece of the crisis under control. I'm not sure.
It's not that way. And now, is this where nationally, if you had a mandate and you had a concerted effort that was uniform across the board, that would help get things where they're supposed to go. Plus, they have a supply.
That is the missing ingredient. And, you know, it's very frustrating. Again, we heard the mayor talking about this today, as a matter of fact, where there are needs for different products. Governors are out bidding up the price. Mayors are out bidding up the price. What's needed is national coordination to tell all of the suppliers, you will not get a windfall profit out of this. We are going to set the price. You are going to either take that price or you're going to sit idle, and sort of make it rational and make it normal so that we can do the best job of supplying people under short circumstances.
Yeah, because the numbers are fine, but then when you look at what these workers are dealing with in hospitals and in medical sites, they are really at this, it's a health war right now.
Yeah, I mean, when people are risking their jobs, talking to the media and saying, you know, and they're giving you specifics. They're saying, I was told this N95 mask has to last me for 4 or 5 days. That's not the same as saying we have enough masks, right? So the truth lies somewhere in between. I think the best job that we can do in media is continue to publicize when they're saying, whatever the politicians are saying, they're either misinformed or they're being untruthful. We need the stuff, and we need it now.
Yeah, you have to call it out. And the governor also referred to the budget, and he was talking about that stimulus bill. He's saying, okay, $5 billion, but it has to be only used for coronavirus costs. But you have a $10 to $15 billion hole that has been created by the economic crisis that was created by the health crisis.
That's right. Yeah, look, Washington is not speaking with one voice, to say the least. At one end of Pennsylvania Avenue, you have the president saying, you know, we're okay for now, and we don't have to take certain drastic measures to compel the production of personal protective equipment and other medically necessary items. At the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, the Congress has just approved $2.5 trillion, knowing that we're going to do, for the first time, something he's never done, not in my lifetime, nor yours, sending checks directly to people just to keep them afloat. You know, no real means testing going on, just saying if you make less than $100,000, you get a check, because we've got to keep the economy afloat. It's not clear that that is compatible with getting our budget done for the state in the next week. They've got to make some drastically reduced assumptions about the money that they're going to have, the skyrocketing need that they're going to have, and the deficit that they're going to have to fill.
And if you're sitting at home and you're out of work and you're wondering, okay, I cannot pay the rent right now. I don't know when that check is coming from the government. If you're unbanked, you have no idea when it's going to come, how they're going to find you to give you that money. So you have rent due. They're saying, okay, you can't be evicted for 90 days. Well, 91 days you can be. You still have to pay the rent. Landlords still have to pay the mortgage.
Well, that's right. And look, you're going to owe that money too. I mean, this is the other thing. The bank is not going to forgive the mortgage to the landlord. The landlord, in turn, is not going to forgive the rent for the most part. Smaller landlords might do that, but the big folks are not going to do that. And so, you know, we've got a gigantic personal debt accumulating, and that makes people uneasy, as it should. The fact that you're now going to get probably half or less of your income if you've been furloughed or laid off, and your bills are continuing to accumulate. Maybe they're not going to break down your door and throw you out this week, but 90 days from now, you're going to have a huge problem. It's a set of real challenges, and, you know, I think when we get past the apex of the crisis, we're going to have to start talking about how do we revive this economy? How do we bring people back economically from the brink of destruction, which is where a lot of people have been pushed?
Yeah, they certainly have. Well, we appreciate your insight, as always. Thanks, Errol.
Thank you.